What is up, everybody? Welcome to Podagraphabapalooza. It's our Sunday night live edition of the show. Kind of a wrap up, if you will, since it's been a week of quite a bit of stuff. Fun weekend, but we're not done yet. We've got an awesome show today and tonight, and as always, I am going to be putting up in the comments where you can actually call in later if you'd like, and ask some of our guests some questions or anything that you would like, as we do have a pretty star-studded lineup of people joining us here in just a few moments. What's up, Andy, Herman, Gable, everybody? Thanks so much for joining. And as always, we do have a lot of our giveaways running. The Esposito giveaway will be announced at the conclusion of this episode, as well as the vintage brakes brake credit will also be given away in the morning. We'll leave that one going through the morning, and a big giveaway from SGC, 20 free bulk submissions straight through them. You put in your submission, enter in a code, it's free. Straight from Peter over and the guys over at SGC. I'm going to be putting that giveaway up tonight at the conclusion of the show, but we're also going to be giving something away live during tonight's show. So stay tuned for that as well. First off, before we do pull in our very first guest, I do want to run down once again. You can take a look at our different giveaways we have this week. The SGC subs, we had the Haskins jersey, the Jerry Rice auto book, tons of brake credit, Chris Chelios autograph jersey that's coming soon, Mike Singletary jersey that's coming soon. But a lot of this stuff and all of this stuff was donated by a lot of our awesome sponsors over at 204 Brakes, Mojo Brake, Retail Brakes, Vintage Brakes, SGC, Leaf, and Forever Young Sports Cards. So, guys, thanks so much for helping make this 100th episode a little bit more than just an actual podcast, because it's growing to be a lot more than that. And I think in this day and age in the hobby, you really have to. That's really what it's becoming. But we've got, like I said, we got a fun show today, and I'm going to bring in my first guest now. It's going to kind of co-host with me tonight. You guys, we've done a couple of things together, and you're very familiar with him. If you're not familiar with the man himself, I know you're familiar with his awesome product. He is the owner of Leaf Trading Cards, Mr. Brian Gray. What's up, Brian?
Hey, Drew. How you doing, buddy?
Not bad. How's it going?
Good. Congrats on 100. That's pretty good.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, excited.
I'm on number 4, and I keep changing formats. And so now I'm going to do a StreamYard also where it's video, but it's like I can't get 2 out without changing. So how you got 100 now, I'm impressed, man.
Well, I will say that from episode 1 till now, it's definitely changed a million times, but somehow the format stayed just enough to where we could call it the same show. But
I like it.
Well, I greatly appreciate that. And I mean, you've been on the show a couple of times. You were actually on the very first show that we did. I don't even know if you're aware of this, but the very first show that we did, we didn't actually have an interview, but we wanted to have a soundbite. So I actually called the Leaf office. This was over 3 years ago, back when this was not a normal thing. But I called into the Leaf offices and actually was shocked that the owner picked up when I actually called. And that was the first thing that just blew my mind, because I was prepared to talk to a secretary first. But you were the very first person that I called and asked a question about and got a soundbite on for a podcast. And so you really have literally been around since the beginning of the show, and have always been an awesome supporter of it. And we've done some fun stuff on the side, our recent talk on investing and everything. But I really wanted to have you on today because I wanted to really take this time to just, go over everything in the hobby and talk about the hobby. Because if there's one thing, I mean, it seems like we're trying to get back to normal. It seems like there's so much going on in the world in general. But when it comes to the hobby, I mean, it never ends. I mean, you could write a book with everything going on right now.
It's mind blowing. I mean, it's besides the fact that the market is crazy strong. Besides that, it just feels like right this second there's 50 topics that are interesting topics that, at the very least take our mind off of the COVID stuff. You know what I mean? At the very least take our mind off of that. But they're interesting topics too. They're not just filler. There's like 50 interesting things going on. And so I think there's not a lot of times in the hobby where we can say that we've had 50 things going on and 38 of them are good. That's pretty good. Usually we only talk about what we don't like or what bugs us, but there's so many great things happening too. It's a really nice balance and fun to see.
We are having some. There we go. Oh, we're back. Okay. Thought we had some technical issues, but it looks like we are back. Okay. No, I completely agree with you, man. It's everything. It seems these days is just it's crazy, and I mean all the way down to just some of the decisions that companies are making, which I guess is, if you want to start, we can start there. Unless there's anything that you had that you wanted to start with, but I mean, you had during this entire crisis, so to speak, or the shutdown, since everything's changed, you've had BGS and PSA raise prices overnight on people. And then you've had Tops overnight recently just decide to pretty much take a look at the secondary market, see how much people are taking them off the shelves and marking them up and how much distributors are marking them up. And they jack the prices up like crazy. I mean, 100% basically on distributors. You obviously being an owner of a card company, you're very involved in distribution and everything going on. When you saw this, what was your first reaction to it?
Well, I mean, specifically on the Bowman thing, I mean, this is the great quandary. Like for me, honestly, and again, you have to remember, I am a collector. I had a store. I was a show dealer. I was a distributor, and now I'm a manufacturer. So I've done all these things. So like, I know how it feels to be every part of that food chain. And for me, I'm actually excited when people are making money on our products. Like right now, I mean, especially some of the stupid repack stuff, which I hate making them, but I have to because people beg for it. I look at Best of Basketball. I'm like, that's $350 a box, and factory cost was $140. I mean, it's like, I look at things like that, and like, I'm excited that the customers who bought it and ordered it made money.
Yeah.
And, I'm not sure I'm as excited about the consumer who's having to pay those high prices, but the people who bought from me made good money on it. And I'm happy for that. And I think there is an element of some people, it's hard to sit by and watch other people make money on your hard work. Or it shouldn't be, because that's what we're in business for. But to see them make too much money, that could be a factor, I think. And I think they look and say, holy cow, we're charging $100 for this Bowman box to dealers, and they're selling for $320 or $285. How are we not getting more of the pie? That's got to be what the thinking is. And so by raising it to $200, the fact is it's still going to be $275 to $300. The dealers will still make money, but Tops will make a lot more money. If it were me, I think the best thing they could have done from a PR standpoint is to add 2 autographs a box to each version. The autographs would have cost between $5 and $7 each. So they could have added $10 to $12 worth of content and added $100 to the price, and it would have swallowed a lot better. And so to me, I think that's where manufacturers, if you feel like you've been underpricing your product, and it's their right to adjust that, that I think is what their challenge is from a PR standpoint, is to do something to show the consumer that it's not a one-way street, but it's a two-way street. We want to find a way to provide extra value in light of the fact that we're having to raise the prices or choosing to raise the prices, or we feel like we're entitled to more of the pie. And listen, with licensing as expensive as it is and all those pieces, I don't blame them. But that's a big increase. That's a big increase. Yeah. And if you think it stops there, you're wrong. Because, I mean, honestly, if Panini doesn't raise factory cost on National Treasures to $1,000 from $562.50, then I think they're nuts. Yeah. They're going to raise factory. And $1,000 is still way cheap. But they're going to have to raise cost because the market has made it very clear that brand is worth multiples of cost.
Yeah.
And I think they should get some of that profit. It's just, let's see what they can do. And hopefully, I think Panini will do a better job, but let's see what they do to add value to make the consumer feel better about the pricing reset.
Well, that's what I was about to say is, I completely agree with everything you're saying, but right there was my question is it gets to a point, and I really look at National Treasures first off the line as a prime example, because Panini in particular, they sat there themselves and said that on a forum, you can find it on YouTube. They sat there and said that the MSRP is what you should expect to get for value in a box. So a year later, they put out a product where they set the floor, which is basically what they're calling an MSRP. It's got to be. It's the floor. It's the MSRP of what was it, $7,000 or something like that. So they're saying now that they were saying before you should expect $500 in value because that's the MSRP. Now they're saying basically you should expect $7,000. When you're looking at these massive price increases, can card companies in general continue to raise these prices and actually include enough value for collectors?
Well, see, this is a big problem. And I think, listen, I don't blame. I actually kind of like what Panini does with that program. Now, I would like to see it work the other way, where you start at the floor and you Dutch auction it up.
Yes.
I like that better because I don't like the idea that one guy pays $12,000, another guy pays $7,200. I don't like that.
Nope.
But what I do think is, A, I like going Dutch the other way. B, on National Treasures, I do believe they probably could have started at $2,500 in a Dutch auction going the other way, and it would have ended up at $6,000 or $7,000.
Exactly.
It would have ended up there. But the perception's a lot better. Now, with that being said, they have lightning in a bottle with Zion, Ja, and now even I was bidding on RJ Barrett's silver prisms today, and I was like, I'm bidding $425 on PSA 10 RJ Barrett's.
I got four of them. I got 4 of them right back here, man. I'm
paying $4.25 for those. Are you nuts?
I know.
But I mean, and then I'm looking at Ja autographs, and you can't buy anything under $400, and I'm like, what is going on? But the fact is, it's a perfect storm, killer rookie crop. The demand is massive, and they can't make more. Everyone says just make more of it. You can't, because you can't get more autographs from these players than you're already getting. You can't make these guys sign more. They're already signing until their arms fall off. There's no more signing. And we see that in football every year. We cannot get these kids to sign. Heck, AJ Brown refuses to sign the cards he signed a contract he would sign from last year.
Right.
We're going to replace them all. So, I mean, it's terrible. But there's really limitations on the supply. And, I mean, this kind of pricing, long term, it says, hey, manufacturer, you deserve a little more of the pie if things are going to sell for 10 times what cost normally is. Yeah. Maybe they deserve some more of that pie. But I think you want to try to put some bang for your buck, as someone in the chat room said. You got to try to put some bang in your buck there to help compensate for that.
Absolutely.
And again, if you started at $2,500 on a Dutch, then I think you're saying this product is worth $2,500. Do you want to bid it up?
Yes, exactly. At least start it at the floor if you're going to, especially at those prices. Well, we're going to continue our conversation, but guys, I did mention we had multiple guests. We've actually got 2 that we're going to be bringing in. We're going to bring in our first one right now. And he's someone that is very well known in the hobby. I know most of you know him. And if you watch Hobby Hotline, you see him all the time. And that is, of course, Mr. Uncle Rich Klein. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Drew. Hey, Brian. How are you guys?
Hey, how you doing, Rich?
I'm good. I was shocked. I'm going to actually do something I never thought I would do and say nice things about Brian Gray.
Whoa! You used to work in you used to run my.
I know. But yes, and you're very smart. So I don't want to. We won't talk about the store's failures, but that was one of your few failures in life.
Well, I only did it because we had Webkins for the hot fad.
Yes.
And I needed a retail store to be able to buy millions of dollars worth of Webkins. So that's why I had a store. But it was, listen, it was what it was. But always good working with you for sure.
Yeah. And I'm going to switch topics for a second. I get this wonderful email from Brian Gray I send out an email just saying we're delaying our synagogue show till November or until we feel it's safe to run a show. And Drew, I know you were at a show last week. So
yeah.
First, before we do anything else, I want to congratulate Drew. 100 shows, if anything, is an accomplishment.
That's huge.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let's explain that I am in my office. As I told Drew, I'm going to go back home after a few minutes. The central area in the office is, I don't have a camera at home, so it's 81.6 degrees in the central area of our office. So I don't really feel like staying forever.
Yeah.
But Brian said, congratulations, you made the right decision. And when you told me that at the show you went to, almost nobody was wearing a mask or really doing a lot of preventive stuff. The same was going on at Kyle's show. And Brian, you've said the hobby is so hot, but one of the problems is, like, for what I do, I don't play in that game. I do the I'll call it nickel, dime, quarter, dollar stuff. And the show is a great way to do it. So
no doubt.
That's why it's so hard for some people not to do a show, because they can't necessarily just go online and buy what they're looking for. They need to actually see the cards. And that's, I think, one of the conundrums we're having.
And that's also one of the things at the card show that I was just at. That's one of the biggest things that you could tell was that the people that were there looking, if it was the big boxes where you would normally want to spend time looking at, they weren't looking through them. And if they did, they would thumb through 5 or 10 cards and then move right along. They would look at the singles and the displays, but when it came time, if you didn't have them, you'd almost be better to just bundle them by the 10, because then they'd actually look through them, because when they saw the long road boxes, immediately, they looked away.
Well, it's funny because I went through one of my dealer friends' boxes, and I was literally the only one going through them. And I actually brought my own bottle of hand sanitizer with me. Talking about strange things to bring to a card show. In my 3-row shoebox was a hand sanitizer, and so after maybe an hour or so, I'd go put hand sanitizer on my hand again. It's kind of weird, but I think Brian's got a point, though, that for many of us, especially in the higher edge market, you don't really need a show right now. The online stuff is more than sufficient. But there is that market underneath that market that does support the shows, but I'd rather not have a show if it's not safe. And that's why we punted for now. Well, so I appreciated getting your email. I wanted to tell you.
Thanks. No, and I'll be honest, I've been hugely outspoken on this. And it starts with the National. When they were talking about the National, I was like, you have to cancel it. And I'm not talking about just the summer. Cancel December. It's not happening. No. It never was happening. Cancel it and either do 2 next year, one in spring in Atlantic City or Chicago, wherever you want, and then the summer in Chicago is planned. The market is so strong, we can handle 2 nationals in a year.
Brian, I think the reason they haven't canceled it yet, frankly, there may be contractual issues you and I don't know about that they have to actually play the game as if they are having the National until they finally realize, wait a second, we're not having it, so now we can make the official announcement.
But see, what I heard
that could be a possibility.
Well, they had an out when the world fell apart in the summer. They had it out. They could have been done.
Yeah.
But I heard they want to do this show. Obviously, they need to do the show because it's a form of income for certain people.
Yes.
But they want to do the show because they don't want to see that income go away. And so we pulled out of the National, not just for the summer, but we pulled out in November, in March or April. In April, we said we would not be going no matter where it was. I don't care if it's in Dallas. We're not going.
Right.
We pulled out.
Well, and
I believe the other major manufacturers have pulled out also.
Yeah.
And as you know, I work for ComC, and we have, as far as I know, we have not made a final decision. I'm not involved in any of that. But if we do, it's certainly not going to be with any presence like we've had the last few years.
Right.
It would be a much more minimal presence, if at all. Sort of like what you're doing for the very same reason. And
you're not going to have a decision to make because there ain't going to be a show.
and also, just so you know, the promoter of the National knows personally people who have had. So he is very,
Oh yeah,
they're very well aware of all that. So these are
absolutely.
But I'm going to go a step further, and I'm going to tell you something I've told no one except my wife, and some people will not like this. But I did have a conversation with the city of Allen prior to that show that just happened here. And as an expert in our industry, I told them there is no way to social distance and safely hold that event. When you guys do this, A, it's irresponsible, and B, it shows a total ignorance of what you're having happen. It's almost like doing Red Rover, and expecting people not to put their hands together. There's no way to walk up to counters and social distance. No one wore masks. One of my employees went and said he saw 2 people with masks.
I will promise you, I wore a mask the whole time I was there, except for when I had lunch and when I had a Coke Zero. Other than that, I promise you, I had a mask on the whole time.
True. We got to do something about this, right?
I completely agree with you guys. I mean, in going to the show, it was a little concerning at some of the things that I saw. And, I think it's definitely, I don't know how it's going to happen, if it's going to happen. I'm kind of with you, Brian. I don't know how feasible it is. But I want to bring in someone else now to join in on the conversation, because they know a little bit about dealing with this whole mess, as they're actually going through a lot of the protocols themselves right now, I believe. And he's a collector, a hobbyist, a world champion professional baseball player, and a breaker of world champion breaks, Kyle McGowan. Thanks for joining the show, Kyle.
Hey, Drew. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we've got Kyle. This is Brian and Rich Klein. Brian Runsleaf.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
So Kyle, you're you're out there getting ready for the season and everything, right? When we were talking, you had said you were out there like prepping for everything. Are you guys going through all this stuff right now, or where are you at?
I'm currently in DC right now. I'm in the hotel room, killing time. Not really allowed to do much, just to and from the field. The field is actually like right outside my window, so I just walk right next door, and that's my day.
I hear you there. So when you see these stuff like shows, I mean, you being a baseball player, you're obviously used to being around a bunch of people, a lot of fans. As you've been listening to the conversation, what do you think in terms of card shows and stuff, as you are a collector and everything? Is this? I'm sure you've probably gotten a little more information than maybe we have as well. What is this situation like? Do you think this stuff is, feasible? What are we looking at here?
Well, I think it varies. I lived in Florida, so where I was, no one really cared about any of it. My opinion's probably not the best, but right now with baseball going on, they're super strict here. Like, I have to wear a mask to and from the field. Anywhere in the clubhouse, I'm wearing a mask. The only time I'm not is on the field. So in terms of card shows, I'm probably not the best expert to ask.
Yeah.
I think it could be doable. Kind of like Brian was saying before, it wouldn't be on the mass scale that it has been in the past. But as far as safety and all that, masks would 100% need to be done. But there's so much interactions and stuff among so many people that it's going to be tough. Like, because everyone's, grabbing cards from one person to the other person. It's just, stuff can be passed around so easily. So it's very tough to say what could be done.
No, absolutely. And Brian, I mean, you've been someone you've been very vocal about the subject, about how shows don't need to be going on and everything. And you've been vocal today as well. Do you see any way that this can be, curved to where we can do it, or is this a wait it out and just deal with the type of approach?
There's a 0% chance a big show is happening in the United States of America in 2021. Or what are we at, 2020? There's 0% chance. 0.00. Like you said for Blue Karsky and Animal House. 0. There's no chance. And the shows that do happen might be these little regional shows. And it really, the problem we have here's a great example. In Texas, they just have mandated masks. The governor just mandated that you have to wear a mask when you're indoors and you can't social distance, all these things. But in our county, the sheriff says he will not enforce the policy.
Well, we have a county. You're in Collin County like I am, Brian?
I'm Denton County. He says I will not enforce it because it's not constitutional. So today I sent a legal letter to the sheriff letting him know that I intended to take legal action against the county and against the sheriff if he does not enforce masks. and that I will take deep pockets and spend money for the safety of people, because if it saves one person, it's worth it. And you can say he's over the top, he's panicking, whatever, but like, if we're going to make rules, we got to try to follow them. Let's don't make the rules then. You know,
right.
I agree with you.
You know, anything right now in the whole world, whether it's black lives, pick any topic. What's the best flavor of soup? No one agrees on anything.
We have.
How are we going to get people to wear a mask at a show? There's no chance.
We have Collin. I'm in Collin County, and Collin County, when Dallas County shut down totally, Collin County, the county commissioner, Chief Hill, basically said, "Oh, all businesses are essential. You stay open another 2 weeks." That did us all a lot of good. He kept everything open.
Right. Well, no, exactly. And, you know, Kyle, I kind of want to get your opinion on this, because, I mean, I think we're all in agreement that card shows, it's going to be no matter what. I was kind of shocked this one happened. There was supposed to be one in Hickory next weekend. That one has been canceled. So it looks like they snuck this one card show in that I got to, and now they're right back to canceling them again. And I think we're in agreement that it's pretty unlikely that any of these shows are going to happen. But Kyle, as you said, you're out there prepping, you know, for the season and everything. But we actually just had a question here in the chat, and it's a question that a lot of people, I'm sure, are asking. And I'd like to know your thoughts on it, being right there on the front lines. That, I mean, do you think, with everything that's going on, do you think that you guys are going to be playing this year? Do you think there's going to be some type of season this year?
I think there is, for sure. I know Andrew Miller came out earlier today saying he expects a season, but he's not 100% guaranteeing a season. Obviously, with everything going on, the spikes and this and that, you never know. But I think we're going to be going as long as we can until something is forced upon us. With the precautionary stuff that we're going through, the amount of testing, I get tested every other day. My thermometer temperature gets checked every morning when I come into the field. Mask all over the place. Every time I use a baseball, as soon as I'm done with it, I throw it away. So I think they're going through with the precautionary stuff greatly. I think it's just a matter of what will happen with the CDC and all that.
Right.
I mean, if it's up to baseball and us as players, I think we're going to, you know, play as long as we can.
Kyle, to ask you a question.
Yeah.
How are you going to feel not having any fans watching the games?
Yeah.
I just feel like a minor league season then, right?
Even the minor league team, you know, we have a minor league team about 15 minutes from where I am. There are people there every night, you know, and so at least there are people in the stands and people walking.
Well, I think the weirdest part is not that there's going to be no fans. It's that the team and the players are going to be in the stands. Is that's where we're supposed to be sitting in the stands, like we're not allowed in the dugout.
But I heard a few teams are actually going to sell you the right to have your picture sitting in a seat.
Oh, I have no idea.
They're going to sell like a picture of you in the seat that you would have sat and then you got to the game. What a great way to raise money, to have just tons of people in the seats that are fans who paid to have their pictures on. And if the foul ball lands in your chair, you get the foul ball, which is
brilliant.
That's crazy. I didn't hear that.
I pray for you guys, because I don't know how you're going to do this and stay safe and not, you know, and miss your families. And it's going to be harder than it usually is, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely say a prayer for you guys, because I think what you're doing is trying to make people happy. And I kind of wish that wasn't what would make people happy right now, and they would focus on safety and all the other stuff. But the fact that you guys are doing everything you can to try to oblige that, I think that's
yeah. I mean, a lot of us are here in the hotel, and like I don't hang out with my buddies right across the hall. Like I'm literally confined to my room. I had to go get Popeyes delivered before. I just play a lot of Xbox and trying to help my sell some group break stuff in my page. So
why don't you publicize what your page is?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so I run a Facebook group called World Champion Breaks. It's my college roommate and I. He played baseball with me in college. And we run a group break channel. I'm not as active now as I was last week, but usually I run all the breaks, open up all the cards. Now he's kind of in charge of all that, but I just help out here and there as much as I can since I'm here. But
I just joined your group for fun to see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great group, and it's really cool. And I've got to ask Kyle, what have you been a collector for your whole life, or what made you at this time? I mean, you've obviously got a great career. You're playing professional ball. What made you decide to want to actually just do breaking and get into the hobby? Have you always been a big collector?
Yeah, so growing up, my father and I, we would go to the local flea market, 45 minutes away, buy a whole bunch of cards, boxes. I know SP Legendary Cuts was huge for us back then.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved doing that back in the day. Then growing up, I was a huge autograph guy. I loved going to Yankee spring training, hotels. I was one of those guys, little kids in the city chasing people around. It's kind of funny now that I'm, the guy at the hotel that people are coming for. But no, that was always my hobby with my father. Even in college, I was, I was still opening cards. And then once the pandemic hit, I was so bored at home. I was helping another buddy breaking some cards, and I was like, what a perfect time for me just to go out and try to do it on my own right now. I was so bored at home, and I just love doing it. I still get the thrill of pulling autographs of people I even play with. So it's
right. That's what I was about to say. How does it feel to open up a box and pull something of a teammate or a friend or so? It's got to be a little weird to be like, I remember that game. I remember that hit.
That's pretty awesome.
Have you ever pulled your own autograph?
So I don't have any big league cards, unfortunately. So
what? We're changing that. We got to change
that.
Though,
I would 100% have a bounty in my group. Every time I pull a card or something, I'll sign it, whatever, do a bounty, this, that, make it pretty cool.
Maybe after the show, and I'll print you some Leaf rookie cards, some Leaf auto, first ever autos. I'll just ship it to you to get one in your group.
Yeah.
Yes.
That'd be huge.
I love it.
Drew, as I said, it's hot in here. I just wanted to wish you a happy 100th.
Thank you so much, Rich.
I'm heading home. And Brian, before I go, remember I said I had two things I thought you'd do really well? I ID some of your cards at ComC. I will tell you that I understand just about every one of your products. Everyone makes sense. How you do the numbering makes sense. Everything's readable usually. You actually do a really good job where I can figure out what the heck you're doing. You and your team, I should say.
We keep it simple and stupid, I
love my friends at Panini, but the 40, Pineapple Princesses and the Purple Passions and all those other things, when they put the 40 parallels in, I know that they tell me it's very popular. It drives me up a tree because I'm color deficient when I'm looking at stuff. So, Brian, your stuff is very easy to figure out. I appreciate 99% of what you do. It's very easy to do.
Yeah.
Well, I'm heading that way with more parallels, so get ready to suffer.
Okay. As long as you number them, I'm okay.
That's right.
Drew, sign me out or whatever you need to do.
All right, bud. Thanks so much, Rich. Have a good one.
Thanks.
All right, guys. And so thanks, Uncle Rich, yet again for coming in. And before we continue, guys, the chat, I'm actually going to bring yet another guest onto the line. And a lot of you are familiar with him as well. He is the owner of Just Collect and Vintage Breaks, Mr. Leighton Shelton. What's going on, Leighton?
Hey, what's up, guys? How are you?
Doing good. How about?
I'm good, thanks.
How's everything going? Good deal. Good deal. So I don't know if you've been listening in on the combo and everything tonight, but been basically
what's up, Brian? What's up, Kyle?
How you doing?
Pretty good, thanks. How about yourselves?
Can't complain.
We could, but no one would care.
Not much more I can do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Leighton, thanks so much for joining in. So, Kyle, I know we were talking and everything, and so how is it? I guess. So you jumped into the breaking when and everything during the COVID situation. That's what you were saying. That's when you kind of got into it.
Sorry, you broke up a little.
No, I was saying you said you got into breaking mostly during the COVID situation, during the break and the time off.
So I was breaking for another guy, a buddy of mine, and I've been doing it for almost a year. At the end of last season, I started doing it again, but I was always joining breaks and stuff. And I was like, hey, if you ever need help, like I'll gladly help you. You know, in the off season, I'm pretty chill and not much going on. So, you know, he took me under his wing and worked with him for a while. And then once the whole thing happened, I was, hey man, do you mind if I go off on my own? And he's so supportive of me, and he actually sent me a lot of his followers. So
nice.
I went off on my own and just got my college roommate to join me and help me out when I was here, especially. So that was huge for him as well.
Awesome. Well, guys, before we switch topics, I know there's a bunch that we can talk about here today. I'm actually going to do one of the giveaways for this week, and it is courtesy. It's actually one of the giveaways from Mr. Brian Gray over at Leaf. So, Brian, thanks for contributing this and the other giveaways. But what we're giving away is a signed first edition copy of America's Game, the NFL at 100. You may know the author. It is Mr. Hall of Famer Jerry Rice. So maybe a little familiar with that name, the GOAT himself. So this is how we're going to do this. I'm going to leave it up we'll give it till midnight on the West Coast. Midnight on the West Coast tonight, you can answer with this question. So answer this question either in the comments of this video or hashtag it with LGTP100. And the question is, during his rookie season, how many times was Jerry Rice held without a catch? And after his last game without a catch as a rookie, how many games straight did he have a catch in? So if you can answer those two questions, then you'll be entered in, and I'm going to take all the correct answers, and we're going to randomize it, and we'll get a winner tomorrow morning, and that'll be the winner of the book. So once again, you just have to answer with during his rookie season, how many times was he held without a catch? And then after that last game, when he was held without a catch, how many games straight did he have a catch in? So answer those. We'll get that randomed off, and we'll get this out to one of you awesome listeners as a thanks for being part of the show for 100 episodes. So now that the mini break's over, guys, we'll jump back into everything. And Leighton, wanted to have you on the show, man, because obviously, you know, we do a lot of work, and you guys have been crazy busy throughout the entire for a long time now, but especially it seems during the COVID situation and everything. But what do you see right now in the hobby when you look at it? Because we're kind of at this crossroads where, I mean, we're seeing PSA and BGS bump up prices. We're seeing tops shoot up prices on distributors. It seems like there's lots of changes going on in the hobby and lots of things that are kind of being tweaked a little bit. What do you think about all this that's going on?
I think that it mirrors what's going on in the world. You know, look what's going on with eating out at a restaurant or going to the supermarket or going to see your Aunt Gertrude. I mean, really, everything's changing. So it doesn't surprise me that things are changing drastically in our hobby as well. But, you know, hopefully for the better.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. And so I wanted to talk with you guys. I know Brian and Leighton, especially. Brian, you all, obviously you're running Leaf, and Leighton with Vintage Breaks, and Kyle now with your break group. You guys all deal with distributors quite a bit. And an issue that I've had, at least something I've thought has been one of the bigger issues in the hobby, has been distribution and the methods of distribution that we have right now. And I think the Topps Bowman example is just another example of, you know, some of the problems that we have from the top down. Where do you guys see us a year from now in terms of distribution? Is this leading more towards a lot of maybe more business to consumer, direct to consumer products as opposed to the traditional distribution method? I mean, where are we going with all of this?
I mean, I think you're absolutely, as a manufacturer, I can tell you now you're seeing that. I mean, yeah. And that's the problem with like the Bowman doubling in price is if the dealers put up a fight or the distributors put up a fight, Topps just put it on their website and get all the money. They'll just make it $300 on the website. They'll get every penny of it. So, I mean, right now, the dealers and distributors, and again, I don't mean this with any cockiness, but they need the manufacturers more than the manufacturers need them. And so that will change. And that's why we're not taking advantage or using leverage to try to do anything that would harm our customers. Because we think long term, what goes around comes around, and karma is not a very nice thing. And I really believe that, Topps doesn't need the dealers and distributors as bad as the dealers and distributors need them. And so as long as that's the case, and as long as the dealers say, sure, we'll pay whatever you tell us to pay, and they're going to, that's the only way to keep it from going more and more straight to consumer. But when they offer things like Bowman Sapphire, I mean, that is easy money. First off the line stickers is easy money. And when we offer metal, red, white, and blue football, that's easy money. We get retail margins and dealers fight to buy it at retail. So, the dealers are a part of fueling that fire. I'll just be honest. If everyone just said, no, we're not going to buy these things, then the dealer network would gain importance and more significance in the food chain again. But right now, I definitely think the dealers and distributors need the manufacturers more than the other way around.
I think that's really interesting, Brian. I totally agree with you when it comes to folks who concentrate on modern breaking. Kyle, I wasn't familiar with, where you were in the breaking world, but do you guys break just modern stuff or some vintage stuff also? Or current year only? What do you guys do?
So we're fairly new. So, I try to get recommendations from everyone in the group. As of right now, it's more up-to-date stuff. I try to do, when I first started, I did a 90s baseball, like a mix, trying to get the Jeter rookies.
Now you're talking my my speed. Absolutely.
So when the Jordan documentary came out and then they announced the Sosa McGuire documentary, I scooped up all the the Topps and all that stuff from the 90s, 89s, all that stuff to try to chase the rookies. Try to give a little bit of a variety. As of right now, though, more modern. But we're open to anything. It's just more recommendations and what we can find.
Well, Kyle, I might hit you up on that later on. But Brian, getting back to what you were saying about the distributors and the manufacturers and kind of where the dealers and the breakers stand, not to toot our own horn here at Vintage Breaks, but Kyle, I'm not sure if you're familiar with us, but we handle both vintage and modern stuff. And so as much as I love to open Zion, Luca, and all that great stuff, hey, if you told me we were going to open up 60s packs all night, believe me, you got my attention. Obviously not that easy to do. But I think the point is, Brian, you had a good one. Until folks figure out, and folks meaning dealers and the breakers, figure out a way to not become dependent on the products that are new, that are coming out from the manufacturers, I pretty much think Brian nailed it. I don't think it's going to continue to move in the dealer's direction and the breaker's direction. I think it's going to move the opposite. You're going to have more direct-to-consumer stuff. The dealers and the breakers will have to decide if it's worth it for them to pay secondary market prices, or for that matter, the prices that Topps or the other manufacturers may ask direct. And I just kind of think it is, it's a natural evolution of business, right? You always got to stay a step ahead. So if you're, a breaker that's going to be depending on that, my guess is your prices will go up. And so you have to figure out if you're going to pass those prices on to your customers, or if your customers are going to say, you know what, I want to get more value for my dollar. What else is out there in the collecting world? Just interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, not as because I'm a breaker, but I think the people that it's going to affect the most is the distributors. Like Brian was saying, I think it can still affect the group breakers as well. But I think as a group breaker, we're able to sustain that value increase because we have, all the people that want to support us. They're there obviously for cards, but some people, they want to go there for the experience, not just for me, as you as a breaker, people interacting with you, getting to know you. Some people hold it as a family, you know what I mean? So I think that helps us in terms of breaking, but I think the distributors are the ones that are going to
get a
lot.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. And I do think, Brian, I think you absolutely nailed it. But, with having the three of you on, there's a question that all of y'all do very well. And it's something that I think is essential in the modern hobby and where we are now. Leighton with Vintage Breaks, I know it. Outside of just doing breaking these days, let's face it, there are a lot of break groups out there. There's a lot of other options besides. There's a lot of types of breaks. There's a lot of everything these days, everywhere. And so to really cultivate it's really become important to cultivate a community, really build that community inside the hobby. And I know, Leighton, you over at Vintage Breaks do an excellent job of that, a very tight-knit community. And Kyle, I've noticed you guys do a lot of, in addition to just breaks, you guys will do a lot of like live feed stuff, like Q&A stuff, talking with people, just interaction with your group to kind of get that feedback you need. And Brian, you've always been incredibly open to talk to. Over at the National, people can just sit down and talk to you and discuss product all day long. But now you've got a podcast that you've started to do if you ever figure out a final format. But but all of y'all are using additional stuff to help build that community. Is that something that I think that's something that's essential nowadays to at least to survive in this industry. What do you guys think?
Community is really important. And I think that, what happens in building a community is, each and every person feels vested in what you're doing. And so it becomes a lot more, about looking out for your fellow collector, for your fellow man, for your fellow woman. Hey, I have a double or a triple I don't need anymore, or whatever the case is. But I agreed with what Kyle said earlier. Breaking, sure, you come there for the cards, but I think more and more people are flocking to at least, to us and what we do because of our community.
Yep.
I'm sure because of the giveaways and such as well. But also because of the knowledge that we all share with each other versus, breaking 20 or 30 or whatever the number is of cases in a given night. And you kind of just become a number like on the butcher line, if you will, waiting for your number to be called. I think that it's a lot more fun to feel like you're at a baseball card bar, if you will. And I feel like that's like the breakers who do it well, Kyle and Brian, Drew. Like, I think that's kind of the vibe you're looking for, right? You want to feel like everyone's name, and you can talk cards, or for that matter, what your wife yelled at you about during, that day that you did wrong, that probably your fellow card buddy did the same thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, for my group especially, like, obviously I try to open as much cards as I can, but being back at baseball, like growing up as a fan, I always wanted to know what the life was like. So I try to give people like a little insight of it. I'll post stuff here and there on the field, or, like the other day I posted my jersey, hanging in my locker, and just try to post stuff here and there. Just try to change it up so it's not strictly just cards. Give people something to talk about amongst themselves and along with me. Try to learn stuff, get a different perspective. Like when we're going through the whole, contract discussion, I was trying to give my perspective among things instead of people just seeing what the media says and this and that. Just trying to help, I don't know, just give people a different variety and view, and then something else to talk about other than cards.
Yeah, I think for us, we look at it as a differentiator because, again, most of these break rooms are built on the concept of community, at least the good ones.
Yeah.
They're built on a concept of community. From a manufacturer standpoint, manufacturers many times try to stay away from the consumer at all costs. And even their dealers, it's almost like there's an allergy or kryptonite that you guys have in your pocket. And so they don't want to deal with it because, again, manufacturers are held to very high standards and they're easy to criticize generally. So they try to avoid, and I get accused of being in your face because I take it and I respond. And other companies, when you attack them on Twitter or whatever, they just like, okay, what's on TV? and I'll go after it. I'll tell you straight up. If I disagree with you, I'll tell you. And if I screwed up and I could have done something better, I'll tell you. But we see that as the great differentiator, communicating in a world where manufacturers are taught, don't reply to these guys. They're trolls. Don't reply. But, you know, that's my whole life is zigging when everyone zags, you know? And so I think we use that as a real weapon in our bow, in our quiver, is that we're willing to interact in a world where people in our business, in our part of the business, refuse to interact, or they find it safer not to interact.
Oh, Brian, I commend you for that. I think that's really well done. I'm on Twitter. I like to follow you and Darren Ravel and some of the other, you know, interesting personalities, if you will, across the sports and collecting world. One of the things I wanted to mention, Kyle, that I thought was really cool that you brought up, that I like that you're doing in your, you know, group, is how you're talking about being a ball player, the different aspects of it. So, Kyle, one of the things that we've done at Vintage Breaks is we've actually brought in athletes to share some screen time with us. We're now doing it virtually, of course, with everything going on in the world of COVID. Before COVID, we had open packs with, you know, Pete Rose and Emmett Smith. But we just did our first virtual pack opening with Warren Moon, and it went great. He told us about his journey from the CFL to the NFL. We opened some 85 football packs, and ironically, even though we didn't get a Moon rookie in the same pack, he got an Elway and Marino second year, which is kind of fun. But I know you'll appreciate this, and we haven't really told that many people publicly yet, Kyle. But we're actually going to be opening a pack with the St. Louis Cardinals' #1 prospect, Dylan Carlson. And so some of the things that are on my list to go over with Dylan when we open some packs of 16 Bowman draft, where you can find his rookie autographed, or in 20 Bowman, is kind of like what you're talking about. Hey, like, what's the journey like? Like, just give us the real deal, right? You know, no one's more curious than kind of your fans, if you will, that are, you know, fans of the game of baseball and fans of collecting. And so I think that it's really wonderful that you're able to bring that perspective, you know, to your community. For me, I kind of have to go out and get these special arrangements and work on them, and you're kind of living that dream, if you will. You know, so I think that's fantastic. You're able to offer that to your community.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's pretty awesome. And I see a comment on the side from Jason Johnson asking if I collect autographs. And I actually do. You know, I was drafted by the Angels, so my first big league spring training, I was pretty nervous. Went right up to Trout, Pujols, and had them both sign a jersey for me.
That's cool.
Has anyone ever shot you down? I've always been curious if an athlete ever shoots another one down.
No. So I debuted in the big leagues in 18, and I had the whole clubhouse for the Nationals sign a jersey for me. One big jersey done for me.
Awesome.
As a player, though, I've never been shut down. As a fan, when I was young, I definitely got shut down.
Oh yeah. I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
I've been shut down big time. Like, someday I'll say the best shutdown ever.
I try not to. I mean, being through that myself, if someone asks me for an autograph, I have no problem. Even in my group, people ask me all the time. I say, hey, send whatever you want to me. I'll sign it and send it back to you. As long as you pay for the shipping, I don't care. But what I don't like is just, I'm sure you guys would agree with me, like just the obnoxious people that think you owe it to them. So, I mean, as a fan and a collector, if anyone's watching, like, if you're just nice and polite, 99% you'll probably get an autograph. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. There was a question I wanted to see that I had here.
If you ever pull some Ty Cobb stuff, let me know.
Oh.
Not easy to do, but I'll certainly keep you posted.
Well, my aunt is Ty Cobb's granddaughter, so.
Wow, that's really cool.
Really?
I'll be collecting some of that if you have it.
So it's crazy. So we actually just bought, my other company, Just Collect, Kyle. We just bought a fresh collection. Literally, this couple in West Virginia bought a house and went to go refurbish it. They found in an attic of that home, basically like an abandoned, you know, boxes of stuff. And within there was a scrapbook. There was a T206 Ty Cobb, which is why I'm bringing it up. You could read the full story on our blog, justcollect.com/blog. Yes, but it's terrible condition. That's what I'm getting to. Is I got a bunch of people who want a Cobb right now, and like there's a portion of the card missing at the bottom. But like you look at it and you're like, wow, this thing has been through so much to survive 110 years. And what's crazy, Kyle, it's still worth like $1,000 in that condition, and it's horrible.
Still something.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
I like being a card treasure hunter. It's fun.
Yeah, Leighton definitely comes across some absolutely incredible treasure, that's for sure. But But yeah, absolutely. So Kyle, they asked earlier, if you collect autographs and everything. What's that? You're obviously breaking and everything. What's the biggest thing in your collection? What's your favorite piece in your collection? What's the coolest thing that you got in there?
I don't even remember anymore. Growing up, I was a big Tim Lincecum fan. Favorite pitcher growing up in high school, and pretty cool story. So in 16, I was in AAA with the Angels, and that was when Tim Lincecum was making his comeback, and he got sent to AAA. So my childhood hero was my teammate. So I would say
That's awesome.
He signed a ball for me, and I asked him, like, dude, can you make a stat ball? He put Cy Young's, college #1 pick, the Golden Spikes Award, World Series, all that stuff.
That's cool.
All-Stars. And then he invited me to his Super Bowl party at his house. So I would say
nice.
all this stuff from him.
You're officially in. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I would say that's probably my most cherished one. That and my big league debut jersey that I had signed by everybody.
That's cool.
Nice. Absolutely. Well, guys, we are going to wrap up here in just a moment. But before we do, I wanted to first thank everybody that did Uncle Rich Klein for calling in earlier. But I wanted to give each and every one of you guys, I want to say thanks for everything that you guys have done. I know, Kyle, we just have met and gotten in touch. Hopefully be doing a lot in the future. But Brian and Leighton, you guys have been such integral parts of the show, getting to where it is and getting to episode 100. I greatly appreciate all the help and support. But before I let you go, Leighton, I'll start with you. What do you guys got going on over at Vintage Breaks and Just Collect?
Well, we're taking one day at a time like the rest of the world. Happy that we're healthy and safe. We hope everyone else out there is as well. On the Vintage Break side of things, we did just release our new website. Of course, you can find it at vintagebreaks.com. It was a long time in the making, but there's an incredible new customer dashboard to track all of your current and your past breaks. So we're real proud of that. And then coming soon to our blog next week at Just Collect, we just bought a ridiculous collection of 1948 Leaf baseball cards. Brian, I know you'll appreciate this.
Yeah.
So the family contacted us a year ago, and you know how people can be about their cards, right? Everyone thinks their cards are a little bit nicer than you really think. And so, I'm trying to be polite about it, Brian. So what we did is we encouraged them, and like we're half kidding when we said it, but we're being serious. Of course, we just don't know if people are going to take us up on it. And I guess what happened was the gentleman's family's cards got caught up at PSA because of COVID, meaning when PSA was closed. But he actually reached back out to us, got 20 of the best cards graded, 248 Leaf Jackies, 249 Bowman Jackies, 548 Leaf Ted Williams. And so they just came down to our offices. We bought the collection late last week. And, that full story will be on our blog. But, we're just excited as hopefully we can steadily, open back up just a little bit, that, we'll be able to get some more fresh collections. That's what we really enjoy doing here at Just Collect.
Awesome. And Brian, what about you guys? What's going on over there at Leaf?
I mean, we're just fighting to keep up. I'll tell you, the hobby is on fire. And, I mean, we can't come out with stuff fast enough. We can't make enough of any of it, and Texas being a COVID hotbed where, we were lucky we were able to keep operating almost all the way through, minus maybe 2 weeks, being small, and some of the benefits we had with having a monster warehouse for a smaller number of people, we had some benefits. So we've been cranking pretty hard. And so, for us, really, it's just, we just say our prayers every day and blessings that, the market has been good despite what's going on in the world. Hopefully it gives people who are sitting at home and who are worried about everything else in life, hopefully it's giving them some relief and some distraction. I hope we're providing a distraction that's a healthy and lately profitable distraction with everything going up in price. But we're just trying to keep up. We have so many products now. I did a calendar yesterday, and I'm like, how in the heck am I going to make all this stuff? We're going to have 45 releases this year. We have 12 employees. So like 14 employees. There's no way. But we're going to do it, but there's no way. So that's it. It's fun. We're just getting ready to climb a really big hill, trying to keep being a distraction for people during the craziest year in the history of years.
Absolutely. Well, you guys do an incredible job, and if you can get some East Carolina Kendall Futurell autos in there, since nobody else will for me. But and Kyle, what do you got? Good. I wanted to wish you good luck with the upcoming season or what we have. I hope you're able to stay safe and healthy through all this, since that's the most important thing.
We need the luck.
And yeah, and thank you guys so much, like Brian said, you guys really you're risking your life to entertain us and to provide us some relief, and greatly appreciated. But keep up the awesome work, bud.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep. And Leighton, as always, thanks so much. It's always a pleasure. And everybody, make sure we do have the giveaway. Leighton and Vintage Brakes were awesome enough to give away $50 brake credit to Vintage Brakes. The giveaway is up now on the Let Me Get That Podagraph Twitter and on Facebook, and we're going to run that through tomorrow until noon. So you've got through the evening to go on and get in and enter in to win that as well. But Leighton, thanks so much for joining the show, bud.
Thanks for having me. Good night, Brian. Take it easy, Drew.
You good?
Yep. And Brian, as always, my man, it's a pleasure. Anything else you'd like to add before we go?
No, I
think
there's the thing is, the problem is there's too much stuff to talk about.
I know.
So honestly, I would love to one of these nights do a Q&A with you where we don't say anything. We just let people call in or message.
Let's do it.
All we do is answer. Because I like to think I have the opportunity to be the wizard in the Wizard of Oz. I can pull the curtain aside and let people see what's really going on behind the curtain. And that's
exactly
an awesome opportunity, And so I think I'd love to do that sometime. If we can make that happen, I think there are probably tons of people who have unanswered questions that they've always wanted to ask a manufacturer, and they just can never get a straight answer or any answer. Yeah. And I love it,
No, absolutely. I'm going to go on and tell you right now, we are going to make that happen. We will do it just like we did our special before. We'll set it up. It'll be right here on StreamYard. It's definitely going to happen because, like you said, that's one of the things, and it's why I love doing these shows with you because, for one, have a good rapport with you, but you will open up and discuss the hobby. You will pull back that curtain. I always liken you to the Wendy's of the Twitter, the Wendy's of the hobby Twitter. You have no problem going in and telling exactly what's going on and going right back at somebody if they're wrong. I love it. But I would absolutely love to do that with you, man, and we will definitely set that up in the future. But thank you so much for all the awesome content you sent us to give away to the fans and everything, and all your support. Yep, episode 100, man.
A great celebration for my episode 5 in a couple weeks. So get ready.
Hey, there we go. Hey, I'm not busy. You give me a.
Hey, thanks for having me. I love it.
Absolutely, bud. I'll talk to you soon.
You got it, my friend.
All right, y'all. So that's gonna wrap it up. Hope you guys enjoyed everything. This whole weekend was really kind of on the fly. I mean, this is a podcast. This is a recorded podcast half the time. But one thing we're doing right now is I'm going to start taking this a lot more live. We're going to be doing, like Brian said, we are going to do, that's happening. I'm setting that up. I'm going to call him in about 5 minutes and set that up. But we will do a Q&A. We will get the stuff answered. You're going to be seeing a lot of video content from Let Me Get That Podagraph and from my company, the DH, coming up, and whole lot of stuff coming. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I do want to thank you guys so much for your support through the first 100 episodes, especially your support once it became a one-man show after Stu's passing. This show, there was about 30 or 40 times where there was about not to be an episode, whatever, pick a number. But what got me through it was a lot of the messages that people had sent and the fact that I know Stu would kill me if I'd ever stopped, doing the show. But there was you guys have stuck through the show. You've been excellent, amazing supporters. It's been great meeting a lot of you in person, getting to know a lot of you online, and look forward to a couple hundred more episodes because we're far from being finished. We got even more content. We're bringing your way. But before we wrap it up, we are going to go over the giveaway one more time. And remember, the Esposito is being given away. Let's see. The Esposito, it's 10:05 right now. At 10:30 Eastern, the Esposito is going to be closed, and we're going to give the Phil Esposito signed jersey away right here with a beautiful, it's got the old school on the front, the old school Circle 7, beautiful jersey. We're doing that giveaway here in about 30 minutes, so check this socials to see how to enter into those. But then to enter in to win your Jerry Rice autographed first edition copy of his book. Remember, all you have to do, leave your answer in the comments here. You can even, I know people have answered it correctly. You can go on and leave you can go on and copy paste. It's fine. Stuff out to you guys. But the question is, how many games during his rookie year did Jerry Rice fail to have a catch, go catchless? And after that last game, how many games straight did he have a catch? So 2-part question. We will leave that up here until we'll do the cutoff. I think I said midnight on the West Coast, and then we will tally these up and random them off in the morning, and someone will get this awesome Jerry Rice book. But guys, that is going to wrap it up. And unfortunately, it is almost the end of Podagraphapalooza, but I've been having so much fun. We got some more giveaways to do. I got a couple more ideas. We're going to keep it going a little bit longer through the night, and I'm going to extend it through tomorrow for a little while. So it's not over. So stay tuned. We're going to have some fun. Thank you guys again.